Monday is Mo Day, his moment of truth. Friday is court day, she fresh in the booth. Hump day's exciting, your friends may say how. Getting you through, it's Lloyd with Wednesdaywow. Yo, what up? Welcome to the Wednesdaywow. Lloyd here. Hope everyone is doing okay. Today is February 20th, 2019. Hope your year is still pushing along for you. Just wanted to leave a little information with you today. And that is that there comes a time, several times in our lives, where we've done all of the planning, we've done all of the scheduling, we've done all of the praying, we've done all of the meditating, and now it's time to take some action. It's time to do something about what you've been talking about. It's time to do something about what's been bothering you. It's time to do something about those goals that you have. It just comes a time for action, right? I wanted to share a quick story. I share lots of recovery stories. Again, my purpose of sharing the stories is because, number one, I want to make this mental health discussion a more normal discussion. Like, I don't want people to be like, he's talking about mental illness, right? That's dead, you know? I want people to talk about it as though it's regular conversation, just like we talk about diabetes and high blood pressure and you know, a cut on your leg or whatever the case may be. Just like we talk about all of that stuff, I want us to talk about mental health and mental illness like that, or mental health conditions like that. Because the brain is a part of the body, right? Just like the heart. Those are two vital parts of the body, but if a person has a heart problem, we okay talking about that. But if a person has a mind problem, that's something we want to sweep under the rug. So I want to make this a household discussion. And trust me, the more we're okay with having these discussions, the healthier we're gonna, or the better we'll lead our children, we'll lead our families. When we're not afraid of this discussion, sometimes we don't have these discussions because we make it taboo to talk about. We make it so foreign to talk about how our mind is doing, in fear of being called crazy or whatever the case may be. So it's one of the main reasons why I use lots of recovery-focused stories when I'm sharing my Wednesdaywow. Anyhow, let me get into the Wednesdaywow. So I remember, this is a true story. I don't make these stories up. These are true stories. Years ago, when I was riding the city bus, I had this issue where I thought people on the city bus were watching me, right? I thought that, hold on one second. I thought that when I would sit down on the bus, people would be watching me, right? I thought that, you know, people were just sitting around staring at me, and maybe it was me being paranoid, or maybe it was a real thing. Maybe people were looking at me, and I'll tag that in at the end of the Wednesdaywow. But what I said to myself is, it's taking way too much energy. You know, little distractions like that sometimes take so much energy, right? So 45 minutes on this bus going to work, I would get to work and I would be drained because I'm looking at everyone, right? I'm just watching everybody on the bus to see if they're watching me. So I decided I needed to do something about this feeling, right? And don't get me wrong, I understand that living with mental health conditions, sometimes there is a need for medication, therapy, and all of that good stuff. But this was a time when I said, let me try to do something for myself first. Let me take some action first before I decide to involve any type of medication or anything like that. Even though at the time I was taking medication, but sometimes when we mention those kind of things to a psychiatrist, it's sometimes seen as though the medication isn't working. So I said to myself, Lloyd, let me take some action first. So I said to myself, I'm going to take a book with me, right? So that's what I started doing. I started taking a book with me. Now, this is not the book that I had with me at the time, but I will take this time to say, make sure you go get your copy of Open 80. You can find it at Lloyd-Hale.com right now. Soon that'll be Open80.com where you can find the book. But right now it's Lloyd-Hale.com. So anyhow, I said to myself, I got to do something. So I took a book with me every day. And at first I was just staring at that book, right? I was just looking at the book, just looking at it. Just trying to pull my attention away from looking at everyone else. I would just stare in the book. Not really reading because I couldn't focus. So I would just look at the book. Then eventually, weeks later, I started reading, and maybe it was a sentence. Then I got to reading a paragraph. And before you know it, I was breezing through an entire book, right? So at the time, I'll never forget the name of the book. The book that I was reading at the time was called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So I read this book, and I got so much better with thinking that people were watching me and stuff like that on the bus. I got so much better with that. But I finished reading the book. The very next day, I got on the bus. I had another book with me. I had my second book with me, right? So this lady walks up to me, right? Out of nowhere, this lady walks up to me and she says, "Hey, how was that book you were reading?" I'll let you take from that what you want to take from that. However, the moral of the story is sometimes there comes a time when you have to do something about what is troubling you. You have to do something about where you want to go. And we have to sometimes dismiss or fight through the fear that it ain't gonna work. This ain't gonna work. Or maybe I never seen anyone do this before. We have to fight through that so that we can start conditioning ourselves to trust that with all of the studying, with all of the research, with all of the grind that we've been putting in, that we may have the answers ourselves. We have to learn to trust that. Anyhow, make sure you check out Lady Simone with the Fresh Friday, and make sure you check out my man Mo with the Mo's Monday Moment. That's my Wednesday Wow. Till next time, y'all, be easy.